Wild Rivers is now open daily with over 25 slides and attractions for thrill seekers and lazy river chillers. Visit wildrivers.com for great values on season passes and daily tickets. That's wildrivers.com. Wild Rivers, where there's sun and fun for everyone.
Is this the tether?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A 29-point comeback Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden put the New York Knicks in the NBA record book. The comeback also put the Knicks one win away from their first NBA championship since 1973. A dramatic tip-in by OG Anunoby with 1.2 seconds left in the fourth quarter gave the Knicks a 107-106 victory over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Anunoby is the new hero in New York City with a game-high 33 points. The Knicks have a 3-1 lead in the best-of-7. They can win the title with a victory in Game 5 Saturday in San Antonio. The Knicks were down by 27 at halftime and by 29 early in the third quarter. Erasing a 29-point deficit is the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. The previous record was a 24-point comeback by the Boston Celtics when they battled back against the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Live from historic Lamar Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today in our second hour. Two conversations. It's Thursday, so we'll kick off the hour in conversation with Dr. Cornel West, as per usual. On the B side of our two, we'll be joined by Mikaal Steele, former chair of the RNC and now co-host of the Weeknight on MS Now? I was about to say MSNBC. They changed it. MS Now. To get his take on the current state of and future prospects for this Republican Party. In our third hour, two more conversations. Up first, producer Lamar Richardson and sound designer Mikaal Sulaiman join us to talk about their Tony wins this year for Ragtime and Death of a Salesman, respectively. On the B side of our three, noted economist Dr. Julianne Malveaux unpacks her belief that America is running on empty as the consumer price index continues to rise, draining all of our pockets. But in this first hour today, let's talk politics and more with law professor, public health professional, and social media influencer Elizabeth Booker Houston. Liz, how are you today? Good to have you back.
I'm always glad to be here, Tavis. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. You know me. I'm doing all right. And again, just glad to have you kick us off today on the show. Let me start with this. And I know you've been following this, and everybody else has. It's been a crazy week with primaries, and so I've been tracking this, and spent some time last night just trying to get caught up on the story that others have been really, I think, legitimately concerned about, and maybe even obsessed with, given where we find ourselves in this country. And this is the story of Carmelo Anthony with a K, not the Carmelo Anthony with a C of NBA fame, speaking of NBA playoffs. But Carmelo Anthony with a K, 19-year-old convicted of murder for the killing of Austin Metcalf, another student at a high school sporting event last year. In this case, that drew national attention then, but really drew attention in the last 48 hours because Mr. Anthony, Carmelo Anthony, sentenced to 35 years in prison after a jury convicted him of murder in the fatal stabbing of a white peer in Texas. The latest development in a case that has clearly inflamed the racial tensions and brought, I think, competing demonstrations to courthouse grounds is a fair way to put it. So let me just top line this just a second here. When we come forward, we'll let Liz, who is a lawyer, I don't even play one on the radio, but she is, let her opine on this. But there are at least a few issues at play here as I see it, as I understand it. One, he's a youth being tried as an adult. That's always a problem, particularly when we see this happen time and time again for black men. Number two, the argument was made in this case that he killed this competitor, stabbed this competitor in an act of self-defense. That argument seemed to go nowhere. And thirdly, the jury had the option to do a number of other things that were less than giving him 35 years in prison. In no particular order, they had the option of convicting him of a lesser offense of manslaughter or deeming the killing a crime of sudden passion. Either of those would have given him a lesser sentence. The jury passed on that. So here we are once again with another story about a black male youth being, in the minds of many, unfairly, harshly sentenced. That's the top line. I'll let Liz go a little deeper when we come forward. Is also the case that we're in the month of June, and before I get to June, it's Black Music Month. We've been doing that every day, as you know. June is also the month when these Supreme Court decisions start to come out, and there are a number of final cases looming with regard to Trump's immigration plans, election hopes, mail-in ballots, a big issue that we're wrestling with here in California, and whether or not you can let elections go this long, days after, counting mail-in ballots before you actually call the election for somebody or tell us who the real finalists are. Mail-in ballots may be a thing of the past. Donald Trump has gone in on them, and this Supreme Court has taken his side in so many cases, as you well know. There's a lot on the docket today. There's a sense, at least, of where we're going. There is more. I saw a piece last night that I read, Liz, about the fact that Democrats are too focused on racial disparities and whether or not that's going to end up hurting the party's chances. This issue of race, that is, these disparities come November. So lots to talk about. And Liz Booker Houston is the appropriate person to lead with today. As I mentioned, June, as you know, is Black Music Month. Every day a different artist of the day. And today we're going with the blues, more to the point, the king of the blues, all 3 hours today, B.B. King on Tavis Smile.
So let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. I don't care if you're young or old. Get together and let the good times roll. Don't sit there mumbling, talking trash. If you want out the board, you gotta spend some cash and let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. Get together, let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. Let the good times roll.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
As parents, we have a million things running through our minds. Playdates, checkups, groceries, laundry, diapers, work, carpool schedules, picture day, swim team, did we mention diapers, birthday parties, meal prep, lost permission slips, dentist appointments, and the dog that still needs to be walked. So it's easy to make a mistake. Oh, I forgot birthday candles. Sit tight, hon, I'll be right back. We say we'd never put our kids in danger by leaving them in the car alone. Oh, wait, since when are candles not on the baking aisle? But never happens. And temperatures as low as 60 degrees can be deadly for children left behind. So always bring them with you, and every time you park the car, stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
It's the best of the King of the Blues, B.B. King. All 3 hours of our show today. June's Black Music Month. We choose a different artist of the day, and we cover all the genres. Yesterday was Faith Evans, and it happened to be Faith Evans' birthday yesterday. If you missed yesterday's show, we actually called Faith. I called Faith during the show, and to my surprise, she picked up. And she was on a cruise with her family, but she picked the phone up, answered her cell phone, and I said, "Faith, it's Tavis." And I put her on the air, and we were able to wish Faith Evans a happy birthday yesterday live on the air. That was a special treat. We've done that in the past with Stevie Wonder, but yesterday we had a chance to wish Faith Evans happy birthday live on air as we played some of the best of her catalog all 3 hours. And so we swinging from Faith Evans yesterday to B.B. King today. That's B.B. King and Eric Clapton. They were frequent collaborators on a number of projects. And so the first voice you heard, of course, was Eric Clapton, and then you hear the King of the Blues, B.B. King, who will feature all 3 hours of our program today as we celebrate Black Music Month in the month of June. Our guest is Elizabeth Booker Houston, who I'm honored to have on, kicking us off today. So, Liz, I assume you've been following the story like everybody else has, and I tried to at least frame 3 of the issues that I think have people in their feelings, and I think rather legitimately today, certainly black folk in particular, because we've seen this story so many times. Young black boy, tried as an adult, given a harsh and sentence of 35 years. 3 black women, I didn't raise this issue earlier, a few black women were kicked off the jury. We know that issue all too well. And the jury spent no time giving any real credence to the argument that he did this in self-defense. And so you end up with a verdict like this, and black people once again scratching their heads about whether we will ever see any modicum of justice or fairness when it comes to the sentencing of black boys and black men. Now, at the epicenter of all this, somebody's dead. Let's not lose sight of that. But all that said, I stand down and pass the mic to you for your interpretation of these facts around this case.
Well, first of all, I just want to level set for folks because I did have a few people come to my comment section on my post about this case with Carmelo Anthony. Some surprised by my reaction because, as my followers know, as many people know, my younger brother is a murder victim. He was murdered in December of 2017. Innocent bystander, 2 groups of people shooting at each other. My brother just happened to be, walking to his car, and he was killed. And a lot of people have come to with surprise that I'm upset by the outcome of this case because they think, well, your brother was a murder victim. Somebody was killed in this instance. Don't you want justice? And my response is this is not justice. As somebody whose brother is a murder victim and whose murderers are still walking free to this day, this case enrages me even more because I'm thinking, okay, in my view, this was a clear instance of self-defense. I had even made comments after my brother was killed, had he been in a fight, had he been in an altercation with somebody, you could understand it more. But in that instance, he wasn't involved with the individuals at all. And, this is just another miscarriage of justice, because all I can think is there are actual murderers walking free. And a young man has now had his whole life taken away, has been convicted, sentenced to 35 years in prison, right, for a murder charge. And as you pointed out, Tavis, there are some different levels that the jury could have considered with all of this, one of them being manslaughter. The defense tried to get criminally negligent homicide included, but the judge and the prosecution, they blocked that. And they also could have, the jury could have chosen to acquit altogether. And that, it very much confuses me, and I'm curious how the jury instructions were provided, but as many people have pointed out, would a change in the jury instructions even mattered, because we know that this was an all-white jury. We know that there were 3 black jurors who were dismissed because they were educators. That was the justification, and so they let those jurors go. That doesn't change the fact that there was an inequitable setup for the jury in this instance, because I do wonder if I were sitting there, right, even with my history with the criminal justice system, even with my history of injustice, I would have sat there and I would be wondering as a juror why the heck criminally negligent homicide wasn't on the table, right? It all comes down to intent. That is the difference. It's not about, we know somebody was killed, we know a life was lost, and I don't want to diminish that, but it comes down to what was the intent. And I just, from what I have seen and what's been said by the family, what's been said by this case, I don't think the intent is there for murder. And so I'm in all kinds of ways disappointed by the way that this case was mishandled, in my opinion.
To your point about these 3 black women who were dismissed, and the argument was because they were educators, I'm not buying that. And this is Texas, so I don't need to say much more than that. But I have long had an issue, and as I said, Liz is a lawyer. I am not. We may disagree on this. I don't know. But I'm gonna make my argument, and my argument is rooted in the belief that Thurgood Marshall was right when he raised this issue repeatedly in his career. There are 2 issues. If you know anything about Thurgood Marshall and his career, there are 2 issues that he railed on for the entirety of his career as a justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. In no particular order, he was absolutely, unalterably, unequivocally against the death penalty. He laid on that for all the years he served as the first African American to serve, of course, on the Supreme Court of the United States. So the death penalty was one issue that he railed on consistently, wrote opinions about repeatedly. The other issue, though, Liz, as you probably know, is the issue of peremptory challenges. This is the notion of allowing lawyers to strike a limited number of potential jurors, that is, without giving a reason. I got a smart audience. Y'all know this stuff. So you can, both sides have an equal number of potential jurors that they can strike without actually giving a reason. It's called peremptory challenges. And Thurgood Marshall was on the record time and time again, Liz, as you know, suggesting that one of the fundamental issues of injustice in our justice system is the notion of these peremptory challenges. More to the point, peremptory challenges are not codified in law. It is a tradition, and both sides have agreed for, obviously many years to continuing taking advantage of, exploiting this tradition, but it is not. Peremptory challenges are not codified in the law, and yet this is what lawyers do. As a result, these peremptory challenges are more often than not used against us. We are the ones who are dismissed from these juries, potential juries, time and time again. Now, it's one thing to rail, as I have, and I'm sure Liz has in her work. I don't know this. I assume she has, just knowing how she thinks. If I had a dime for every time I've talked to black folk about registering to vote and engaging in the process for a lot of reasons, including that you can't serve on a jury if you're not a registered voter, and that we can't complain about the verdicts in these cases that always seem to go against us if we're not willing to serve on the jury. Stop trying to get out of jury duty, and I'm talking to myself as well, talking to Tavis as well. We have to stop trying to get out of jury duty because we see it as a nuisance, because you don't know what case you're going to be assigned to. And it may very well be the case that you were needed on that particular jury to bring some modicum of justice to that particular trial. So we're all guilty of trying to get out of serving on juries. I get it, you get it. But the point is that these peremptory challenges Thurgood Marshall saw as one of the most racist tools in our system of jurisprudence, and you saw it being used again in this particular case. I stand down for now. Liz may disagree. She may agree. I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. I want to hear her point of view. It's all yours, Liz.
Full agreement.
Okay,
like
I'll take that.
Marshall, those are two things I rail against. I'm very staunchly against the death penalty. Again, surprising to people given my history, but I'm staunchly against the death penalty. And yes, the way that the jury, actually, it's funny you bring up this concept of not trying to get out of jury duty. I was called for jury duty a couple months ago, and I made a comical video at the end where I was complaining about not even getting to the point of even getting a chance to see if I was going to be selected, which everybody said, you're a lawyer, they're not going to select you. But I said, I'm going to try, because I knew a few lawyers who did get selected for jury duty in the past, so I said, I'm sure going to try. Well, they filled the jury box before it even got to me, and they just didn't need any more jurors. So I didn't even have a chance to see what would happen. But I was genuine in my complaints. And this is something I've truly believed in, even before I went to law school, 12 years ago now. That time went by quick. I even then said it's so important for us to be on a jury for our folks, Black folks. We need to be able to be the peers. It's a jury of your peers. And Carmelo was not judged by a jury of his peers. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. That is the concept of having a jury trial, a right to a jury trial. And so I fully agree. We have got to stop trying to get out of jury duty. We need to serve whenever possible. I understand. I had a friend who was so mad because she wanted to serve, and when she got called, she was newly postpartum and had a breastfeeding newborn, and she said there was no way. But she said of all the times to be called for jury duty, she didn't want to get out of it. But that's an instance in which, yes, you can't serve, and it makes sense. But if you can serve, if you really can take the time, we have to do it.
Yeah. And these peremptory challenges again come to the fore. In this particular case, who knows how this decision might have been different had those 3 Black women not been struck from the jury pool, Liz.
That's what I'm saying. And people were saying, if they still found him guilty, but again, as we said, they could have found him guilty for manslaughter instead, or maybe they had somebody like me on there who was like, no, they should have put criminally negligent homicide on the table. I don't agree with either one of these. And maybe he would have gotten acquitted altogether. Yeah. Which that I think people don't understand that can happen too, right? We're talking about beyond a reasonable doubt. And if there's any reasonable doubt, that's what I'm talking about. We're talking about reasonable doubt. We're not saying that this didn't happen or that it's impossible or, we're saying, do you have any reasonable doubt that this young man did not carry the necessary intent for this crime? And in my mind, yes, there is reasonable doubt.
Yeah. Again, his argument was that he did what he did in self-defense, and the jury didn't buy that, number one, as we've already said, and number two, they did not even consider a lesser offense, a manslaughter or a crime of sudden passion, or what Liz suggested a moment ago. None of those options are on the table, and so here we have yet another story again of a black youth, a black male youth in this case, being severely, harshly, unfairly sentenced in what Liz and others have called a miscarriage of justice. When we come forward, we'll move from this court in Texas to the court, the Supreme Court, that is. We're in June, and some final decisions, some final rulings of this term are about to be released, and we'll try to get ahead of that and see what Liz expects to come down with regard to cases around immigration, election, mail-in ballots. There are a few of them. We'll talk about that when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is pushing back after border official Tom Homan threatened to increase ICE operations in the city.
We are very focused on helping communities be safe, and local law enforcement should be working with ICE to help remove criminals.
Hochul says her policies focus on public safety, while Holman argues limits on jail cooperation will lead to more immigration enforcement in neighborhoods. A federal appeals court is raising concerns over Alabama's use of nitrogen gas in executions. Judges say the method could cause intolerable suffering and ordered a lower court to consider alternatives, though they did not block a scheduled execution later this week. And Lamar Richardson is celebrating a historic win at the Tony Awards. The 33-year-old became one of the few black lead producers to win Best Revival of a Musical for Ragtime. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Wild Rivers is now open daily with over 25 slides and attractions for thrill seekers and lazy river chillers. Visit wildrivers.com for great values on season passes and daily tickets. That's wildrivers.com. Wild Rivers, where there's sun and fun for everyone.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A 29-point comeback Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden put the New York Knicks in the NBA record book. The comeback also put the Knicks one win away from their first NBA championship since 1973. A dramatic tip-in by OG Anunoby with 1.2 seconds left in the fourth quarter gave the Knicks a 107-106 victory over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Anunoby is the new hero in New York City with a game-high 33 points. The Knicks have a 3-1 lead in the best-of-7. They can win the title with a victory in Game 5 Saturday in San Antonio. The Knicks were down by 27 at halftime and by 29 early in the third quarter. Erasing a 29-point deficit is the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. The previous record was a 24-point comeback by the Boston Celtics when they battled back against the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This isn't a talk show. It's a town hall with no walls. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. We continue our look at what is happening and what is not happening along the Destination Crenshaw corridor. Last time we talked about the promises made to this community. Today we talk about the reality on the ground, and it is not pretty. Let's start with something as basic as a visit to the vet. Customers of the local veterinary clinic right next door to this studio are forced to park blocks away and carry their sick and injured animals through conditions that no pet owner or sick animal should have to endure. Why? Because the construction has blocked access to the vet's parking lot for years now. The vet is losing clients, the vet is losing revenue, and frankly, who can blame these customers for not coming back? This is but one example of a small black-owned business being quietly strangled, and nobody at City Hall seems to notice or care. And the conditions along this corridor, they are not just an eyesore, they are a health hazard. Unsanitary conditions and repeated health code violations are doing exactly what you would expect, inviting vermin into our neighborhood. Rodents, pests, the kind of infestation that does not stay in one place. It spreads into homes, into restaurants, into our daily lives for years now. Then there is this. The houseless are finding refuge in the construction cubbyholes and unfinished spaces left wide open along this project. These are precious human beings, to be sure, in desperate situations. But this is also a safety and liability crisis that the city created and has yet to address for years now. In our prior editorial, trying to save some space for grace, we did not call his name. But after a full week of running the editorial hourly, highlighting the myriad delays, business losses, health violations, safety concerns, and more, we have heard absolutely nothing from City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson. Nothing. Not a word. The council member who represents this district has gone silent. You see why we call this project procrastination, Crenshaw? And so I repeat, Crenshaw deserves better. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Every day I am the blues. Oh, every day I am the blues. When you see me worrying, baby, it's you I hate to lose.
It's the best of the King of the Blues, B.B. King. All 3 hours of today's program as we continue celebrating June as Black Music Month, different genre, different artist every day. And so we are pleased to be celebrating B.B. King all 3 hours, his legendary body of work all 3 hours on today's program. We are pleased also to be joined by Liz Booker Houston in this first hour today, talking about all kinds of political issues. In case you've just tuned in, we spent a little time talking about this case of Carmelo Anthony, Carmelo with a K, this 19-year-old kid in Texas, now sentenced to 35 years in prison. I fully expect that this case is going to be appealed, no doubt about that. But I saw some footage of his parents on one of the news programs saying that they were delusional to ever expect a fair trial. Something's wrong in America when parents go to court and come out and confess that they were delusional in the first place to ever expect a fair trial. And when you think about Trayvon Martin and so many other cases, we could point to that comment is resonant, but it's just hard to wrap your brain around. In America in 2026, still dealing with these issues of injustice in our so-called justice system, but I digress for now. Speaking of our court system, let's go straight to D.C. To talk specifically about the U.S. Supreme Court and these final cases that are looming. It is the case every June, as Liz knows, as this audience knows, that these decisions, these rulings start to come out in a wave. And speaking of a wave, there has been a wave of partisan gerrymandering that these justices have advanced in a number of different rulings. The Calais case we've talked about repeatedly, the case in Alabama. We could do this all day long if we had the time. Again, with these decisions by this court on the issue of partisan gerrymandering. And so there are a couple other things that we're still waiting on. In no particular order, the court has yet to resolve a dispute over a Mississippi law allowing election officials to count mail-in ballots received up to 5 days after the election. For everybody listening to me right now in California, you understand how this would impact us. What we're doing right now in California, still counting ballots, would be illegal, will be illegal, depending on how the court rules on this particular case. If they strike down Mississippi's law, it's going to have implications for other states like California that offer these sort of similar grace periods. Donald Trump and Republicans have railed against mail-in ballots, despite voting by mail himself. There's the irony. But it's just another tool in their toolbox for suppressing the vote. So let me just pause for a second and start there. We're waiting again on this decision, Liz, but it could again have broad implications for the way we do our elections as it relates specifically to mail-in ballots and counting them even after Election Day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so, this is one of those cases where, again, we're talking about, it's born out of Mississippi, but as you just stated, Tavis, however the Supreme Court decides, they could potentially limit mail-in ballots nationwide. So even in states like California, where the state legislature, where the governor, support this initiative, where the voters support this, it could essentially, the Supreme Court could basically make California and other states change their laws completely and how they count these ballots. And this would happen just a few months before the midterms. So it could really cause a lot of problems. And just to make an analogy here, it's similar to when Texas, very last minute, made that change about how folks could go vote at different precincts and whether they had to vote at their specific assigned precinct during the primaries, right? And a bunch of people, because that rule, all of that had just changed months prior, people ended up showing up at the wrong precinct. They didn't know about this change. That is a similar thing that could happen here. We basically wouldn't have enough time to do proper voter education and educate voters about these changes, and also make sure that they turn in their ballots and mail their ballots in time for them to be counted, right? But we also have the risk of weather delays. Mm-hmm. That is a big one that's coming up for a lot of people, especially in a place like California, where we've seen different natural disasters. You've had earthquakes, we've had fires, we've had, different things happen in states like California that could cause delays on the mail.
Yep.
And whether they mail them in time or not, so, this is really just another way to engage in voter suppression. That's all it is. Trump and the administration, they're railing, crying, they're calling it, cheating. They're calling it fraud. It's not fraudulent. There's nothing fraudulent about a registered voter mailing in their ballot and their ballot being counted as long as it was postmarked by Election Day.
Yep. I do believe, with all that Liz has said and all that I've just said, I do believe that at some point we got to have a serious come to Jesus meeting in California and beyond, but certainly in this state, about the length of time it takes us to count these ballots. There has to be a better way, and I'm all for decisions that ultimately give greater access, broader access to voters, but we can't be going 2 and 3 weeks trying to decide who the finalists are in races. There has to be a better way, because this is what opens the door to allegations of fraud, to allegations of the big steal, that it takes this long for us to figure this out. That's a real problem. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to it later on this program on a different day with a different guest. Also, since we're talking about election law in this election season, there's also an outstanding decision that we're waiting on from this court on a Republican challenge that could chip away at limits on the amount of money political parties can spend in coordination with candidates. There's supposed to be a line here, right? But my guess is they're about to increase the amount of money that parties can spend in coordination with candidates. The Supreme Court did, in fact, uphold a coordinated party expenditure limit in 2001. I expect they're going to increase this limit. That's my guess when this decision comes forward. And what that means is, ding, 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 there'll be more money in our politics, even more money in our politics if they rule on this particular law, as I expect that they will. So there's election law. Let me jump quickly to the second issue that we're waiting for a decision on, birthright citizenship. Now, it seems that we've been discussing this issue ad infinitum, ad nauseum. We've been at this for so long because on the very first day of his second term, Trump did sign that executive order limiting citizenship to children born in the U.S. with at least one parent legally in the country. So we've been talking about this since the very first day Trump came back to office, but we're just now getting to the point where we're going to get a decision on this issue of birthright citizenship. Every expert I've talked to seems to believe that Trump's going to lose on this one, but I ain't holding my breath, Liz.
I listened to the oral arguments all morning, and I just, Trump stormed out of that oral argument. First of all, that was the first time a sitting president has ever attended a Supreme Court oral argument.
That's right.
But he stormed out, so it's also the first time he stormed out in anger, because even the conservative justices were just absolutely dragging the attorney for the Trump administration, and they were just softballing it over to the attorney who was representing ACLU. And for good reason. It's ridiculous. And even Amy, I'll call her Amy Coney Island, Amy Coney Barrett, she had some Haitian children. She got some immigrant children that she adopted. Even she was just like, I don't think I'm fooling with this. I don't even think I want to go there because you might deport my grandbabies. I don't know. When she has grandkids one day. I mean, you could just hear how incredulous they were over this. And I thought it was very interesting because that was the first time in years that I had honestly heard the conservative justice. I mean, really, maybe Clarence. I mean, I never have faith in Clarence. He might roll out with a dissent. Maybe it'll be an 8-1 with Clarence dissenting. I don't know. He hates himself, so he definitely doesn't like immigrants. But I will be so shocked if the Trump administration wins on this, just based on how that back and forth went. I mean, I've just never heard somebody crash and burn. I told my law students, later that week at class, I said, don't ever get up and embarrass me like that man did for the Trump administration. It was the worst oral argument that I've personally ever heard in the Supreme Court.
I'm waiting to see if there's some sort of carve-out, if I can use that phrase. They may not overturn birthright citizenship as we've noted and give Trump what he wants. Not so sure they're not going to split the baby on this. There are a number of ways to do that. We don't have time to get into that right now, but we're waiting on this decision finally on birthright citizenship. When we come forward, two other issues I want to get to with regard to the court, deportation and asylum and the impact it will have on Haitian immigrants. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about a decision we're waiting on with regard to Trump's freedom to fire people. That Lisa Cook story, Trump tried to fire her at the Fed. That issue ain't dead yet. We're waiting on whether or not Trump can fire Lisa Cook and others. How much leeway does he have in saying you're fired to federal workers? You're listening to Elizabeth Booker Houston on Tavis Smile.
Yes, if you don't love me, little angel, please tell me the reason why. Yes, all right.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
What make you? Yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it.
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man. Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Liz Booker Houston, as we're talking about these decisions that we're expecting, waiting on any day now from the Supreme Court at the end of this term. On deportation and asylum, my clock is getting away from me. Let me do this right quickly here. On deportation and asylum, Liz, the High Court heard arguments, as you know, for eliminating temporary protected status for Haitians and Syrians in a decision that will obviously have broader implications for immigrants from other nations. Your thoughts on what to expect here?
I'm not sure. I'm really unsure how it could go. I think it could be very close. Again, I do think that because of her personal ties, I do think that Amy Coney Barrett is more likely to side against the Trump administration. We've seen it before when it comes to adoption and children's rights. We saw it with the ICWA case. That surprised so many people with the way that, Justice Barrett decided with the Indian Child Welfare Act case that people were shocked that she went against the administration in that case. But again, I think because of her personal ties. So just based on that and based on her history and how she's made decisions, I think that she might side against it. I think Neil Gorsuch could also potentially side against it once again because he penned that majority opinion for the ICWA case, and I could just see them seeing this being a problem in multiple ways. That, again, this is just pure guesswork. Neil Gorsuch tends to be against government intrusion more so than others at times, but I never really know with them, and I'm just very on the fence with this. So I am so unsure about this particular case of how they might decide. But I guess I could say there's argument that I could see them being both for and against it. But those two justices in particular, just based on how I've read some of their opinions in the past, I think they may be willing to side against the Trump administration on that.
Yep. One more court decision that we're expecting, a court ruling when we come forward with Liz and our remaining moments with her. We all know that there were a few 100,000 black women who have been fired by this administration, federal workers, that is. But Trump went after one particular black woman, as you recall, Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, and she said, I ain't having it. She dug her heels in, and she's still on the Fed, and she's been fighting Donald Trump since then. But now we are expecting a decision from the court on Donald Trump's freedom to fire people over two cases. One, the case involving Lisa Cook, and the other regarding his Federal Trade Commission firings. But it's the big one around Lisa Cook, or connected to Lisa Cook, that we've been looking at, and we're finally going to get a decision on whether or not he has the right to fire her. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, black voices, black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed, and some of these issues, Liz, these cases have been looming large for so long. It's going to be interesting to finally get some decisions. Again, we've been talking about birthright citizenship, it seems like forever. And this Lisa Cook story has been out there for so long. She dug her heels in and said, you ain't firing me, and she fought back. But now we're going to get a decision on how much freedom Trump really does have to fire people. What do you expect here?
I think the Supreme Court will side against the Trump administration to save their own skin. I think they don't want to open that window. I don't think they want to crack that door open of giving a president an ability to remove a political appointee for obvious reasons of them being political appointees. If they have a lick of sense to save their own skin, they will rule against the Trump administration. Because if people don't know what happened, Federal Reserve Chair Lisa Cook, who was appointed by Biden in 2021, right? So she, she hasn't finished out her term yet because she was just appointed in 2021. She was falsely accused of mortgage fraud. It's the same nonsense the Trump administration went after Letitia James, the Attorney General up in New York, for. And there was no proof of this. And so Trump tried to fire her, quote, for cause based on the allegations, which really is no cause. He made up something, but she can only be removed. Any Federal Reserve Chair can only be removed for cause. So this would basically, if the court ruled on Trump's side, give him way too much blanket authority to just overrule the law and be able to fire people regardless of what the law says about these political appointments. But again, as political appointees themselves, I would hope that the Supreme Court has some good sense to rule against Trump to save their own skin.
Not really enough time to get into this, but I raised it, so let me just give Liz 10 seconds to respond to it. I read a piece last night, pretty provocative, if I can say it, about Democrats being too focused on racial disparities. The country lives, works, and loves across racial lines, and the argument is it's time to build on that reality, not keep exploiting or dividing along that particular line. So I asked you very quickly, are Democrats too focused on racial disparities?
No, they're not focused enough. And, this goes back to if we had handled the Confederacy like we were supposed to in the first place, we'd be in good shape. So I think we need to move forward and focus more.
Liz, thanks you always for your insights on this program. A professor at Indiana University's McKinney School of Law, public health professional, social media influencer, and more. Always enjoy having you on this program. Liz, I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Just getting started here. Hour one down, 2 more to go. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is pushing back after border official Tom Homan threatened to increase ICE operations in the city.
We are very focused on helping communities be safe, and local law enforcement should be working with ICE to help remove criminals.
Hochul says her policies focus on public safety, while Homan argues limits on jail cooperation will lead to more immigration enforcement in neighborhoods. A federal appeals court is raising concerns over Alabama's use of nitrogen gas in executions. Judges say the method could cause intolerable suffering and ordered a lower court to consider alternatives, though they did not block a scheduled execution later this week. And Lamar Richardson is celebrating a historic win at the Tony Awards. The 33-year-old became one of the few black lead producers to win Best Revival of a Musical for Ragtime. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Wild Rivers is now open daily with over 25 slides and attractions for thrill seekers and lazy river chillers. Visit wildrivers.com for great values on season passes and daily tickets. That's wildrivers.com. Wild Rivers, where there's sun and fun for everyone.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A 29-point comeback Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden put the New York Knicks in the NBA record book. The comeback also put the Knicks one win away from their first NBA championship since 1973. A dramatic tip-in by OG Anunoby with 1.2 seconds left in the fourth quarter gave the Knicks a 107-106 victory over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Anunoby is the new hero in New York City with a game-high 33 points. The Knicks have a 3-1 lead in the best of 7. They can win the title with the victory in Game 5 Saturday in San Antonio. The Knicks were down by 27 at halftime and by 29 early in the third quarter. Erasing a 29-point deficit is the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. The previous record was a 24-point comeback by the Boston Celtics when they battled back against the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
mother. And she could be jiving too. Hey, nobody loves me but my mother. And she could be jiving too. So now you know why I act funny with you, baby. Oh, when you do the thing you do.
So, Dr. West, if that ain't the blues, I don't know what is, Doc. Nobody loves me but my mama, and she could be jiving too.
She could be jiving too, brother. It's like Sophocles' Antigone, where every force in the world, in the cosmos, is against you. You think you got one force that you can rely on. It turns out that force might be jiving you too.
Turn it up now.
Get more deeper than the blues than that, brother. That's Henry Highland Garnett talking about pharaohs on both sides of the bloody red waters, brother.
That's it. That's it. Turn that up. Let's hear BB's guitar, man. Ain't nobody like him. He's the king of the blues. B.B. King, I am honored to say that I got to know B.B. King. We became friends. I hung out with him, traveled with him, interviewed him. Dr. West and I, matter of fact, I just remember this. Dr. West and I were in Germany one time. We were in Berlin. Doc, you remember this trip to Berlin?
Oh, my God, I got the autograph from my beloved daughter, Zaytun. We were in Berlin together, his last trip in Europe.
That's right. So B.B. King was on his final tour. It's a true story. B.B. King on his final tour in Europe. Dr. West and I were in Berlin to speak at a conference together. And we checked into the hotel. I was at the counter checking in, and I saw a newspaper on the counter. Of course, it's in German. I can't read it, but I see a picture of B.B. King on the paper, and I grabbed it and looked at it as they were checking me in. And so I said to the person behind the desk who was checking me in, I said, is B.B. King here in town? And he looked at it. He says, no, he was here. Last night was his last night. It is his final tour of Europe, and last night was his last night. I looked at Dr. West, and I said, man, can you believe we missed B.B. King in Berlin by one night? And as I was saying that to Doc, the person checking me in said, Mr. Smiley, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. He is in Berlin. Tonight is his last night of his European tour. That was his final European tour. I said, so he's still here? He said, yes. I said, thank you very much. I said, Doc, I got to find B.B. King. So I pulled out my phone. I went to work. And I tracked down B.B. King in Berlin and said, B.B., it's Tavis. He says, Tavis, what are you doing in Berlin? I said, Dr. West and I are here to speak tonight, speak in a couple of days, actually. And he said, you coming to the show tonight? I said, we absolutely are. And so Dr. West and I went to that show that night, and we got a chance to see B.B. King's final performance of his career. Many times he played in Europe, but that was his final night in Europe. Doc and I sat there, hung out with him afterwards. That was a glorious night, Doc.
Oh, that was magnificent. And there's simply nobody like that, brother. We know there's some giants in the history of the blues, from Bessie Smith and Mark Rainey all the way to Leroy Carr and Brother Guy in Chicago, still going at 90.
Buddy Guy still going, man.
Buddy,
yeah.
Brother Buddy. Yeah, absolutely. But BB is something unique about it, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, when we come forward, no doubt about it. When we come forward, I'm going to let Doc lean in for just a little bit on the blues. This is the stuff he teaches. He knows this stuff. And we can do a few things around here. We'll talk about the issues. I got a few things I want to talk to Doc about. I'll tell you in just a second where I want to go with him. But nobody can lean in on the value, on the importance of the blues like Dr. West can. So since we're in June and we're celebrating BB all day today, we're going to let Doc talk about the blues here for just a second when we come forward. But I also want to talk to Doc about Project 2029. He and I had a brief conversation about it in person the other day. He saw that Jamel Bowie piece that we discussed on this program yesterday. We were blessed to have Andrew Cherney, who is the chair of Project 2029. He was on this show yesterday talking about what they're working on. I want to get Doc's take on what this document ought to look like whenever it comes forward. You're listening to Cornel West on Tavis Smile.
This show was built for you, for the community, for the culture, for everyone who wants more than headlines, for everyone who wants meaning. Tavis Smiley has always believed that public media can change lives, and every single day, that's what he comes to work to do. You're listening to Tavis Smiley, your voice, your issues, your show.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
As parents, we have a million things running through our minds. Playdates, checkups, groceries, laundry, diapers, work, carpool schedules, picture day, swim team, did we mention diapers, birthday parties, meal prep, lost permission slips, dentist appointments, and the dog that still needs to be walked. So it's easy to make a mistake. Oh, I forgot birthday candles. Sit tight, hon, I'll be right back. We say we'd never put our kids in danger by leaving them in the car alone. Oh, wait, since when are candles not on the baking aisle? But never happens. And temperatures as low as 60 degrees can be deadly for children left behind. So always bring them with you, and every time you park the car, stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, black voices, black power.
The heat is on
the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected, stay informed, stay loud.
Stand up!
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
till the dawn. And when she comes in line, I just take her in my arms and bust her. Can't help myself. How much she sticking now, I can't make it. Look at this out in your backyard.
That's classic B.B. King on Sanford and Son, 1977. If you're a Sanford and Son fan, you know the episode well. One of the classics of Sanford and Son. B.B. King guest starred, and that's how that show closed. Everybody had a turn at the microphone performing with B.B. King on Sanford and Son. What a great episode. We're celebrating B.B. King all 3 hours today in case you've just tuned in. June is Black Music Month. You know how we do it. We choose a different artist of the day and tap into the best of their catalog. And B.B. King is just unique, one of a kind in terms of his gift, the performances around the globe, his appearances in TV shows and film. He did it all, B.B. King did. And so we're playing the best of his catalog all 3 hours of this program. It is Thursday in the second hour. You know what that means. Dr. Cornel West always joins us. Top of the second hour, pleased to be in dialogue with Doc always. Doc, the blues. I don't need to color this much more. I got a few issues I want to get to in a moment here, but since it is June, it is Black Music Month. When I think about music and the role that black people have played in being on the soundtrack, creating gifts that are on the soundtrack of our lives, jazz, undeniable. Gospel, undeniable. Blues, undeniable. Say a word about the blues and what it has meant in terms of our tradition, and more to the point, what we've given the world.
No, I think what you just pointed out are crucial pillars. I include work songs too, but the crucial pillar of the most important and significant tradition in the modern world, wrestling with what it means to be human. And that's what black musical tradition is. So it's just not entertainment. It's just not making sound. It's conceptions of what it is for we human beings to make our move from mama's womb to tomb. It is the tradition of artistic genius, of spiritual fortitude, and moral courage in the face of such ugly conditions. You remember the great Gardner Taylor? We used to go visit him every July. We had wonderful times with Gardner Taylor. He used to say white supremacy was like a serpent wrapped around the legs of the table upon which the Declaration of Independence was signed by the Founding Fathers, and that legacy of white supremacy haunted America then, and it haunts America now, yes, in Texas, too, in Crenshaw, in Lamar Park, too, in Harlem, too. But black people, we have been able to create structures of joy and structures of ecstasy and structures of family and community, and most importantly, forms of love in the face of that serpent. And the music has been at the center of it. And the music is not just played on instruments. It is how we walk. It is how we talk. It is how we relate. It is in the rhythm and syncopation and the dissonance and the minor keys and the blue notes in the lives that we live. Duke Ellington said black people have made dissonance a way of life, made blues a way of life. And blues is what? Catastrophe lyrically expressed, honestly confronted, artistically transmuted and transfigured into a joy that so much of the world has to take notice of.
I could listen to Doc talk for hours about the blues and the pillars of our musical traditions. Since he's on there, let me stay there for a second because now he's got me thinking. So you and I have had any number of conversations over the years with B.B. King, God rest his soul. We've had any number of conversations, of course, with our friend Wynton Marsalis, Skane, as I call him by his nickname. And we've talked to all kinds of gospel artists. And I want to come back to these pillars that you mentioned, because now again you got me thinking. I'm starting to wake up here. Or as my preacher says, I feel something pushing me now. I feel something pushing me now. Of those three, blues, jazz, and gospel, one of those three we still have a pretty good hold on, and it's the latter, gospel. When it comes to blues, when it comes to jazz, you know as well as I do, and I had so many deep dialogues with Buddy Guy about this. You know where I'm going here. On the blues front and on the jazz front, it seems that we are surrendering it to folk who don't look like us. Now, I ain't mad at anybody of any color who can appreciate these grand traditions, these great gifts we've given the world. But we are not out front on the blues issue, on the blues genre, as we once were. You go to any blues concert, you go to a jazz concert, you see fewer of us in the audience than anybody else. So I'm concerned about these three pillars. The gospel thing, again, we still got a pretty tight grip on that. But on blues and on jazz, I'm concerned, Doc. I stand down for now and let you respond as you will.
Yeah, that's a very important point, though, brother. I mean, one thing is precisely because of the high levels of artistic excellence in blues and jazz, the whole world wanted to come in, and they crossed over and became part and parcel of the properties of people all around the world. You can go to Japan, you can go to Korea, you can go to Russia, you can go to Bulgaria, you can go to Slovenia, Slovakia, and they got jazz clubs. And blues artists like B.B. King in Berlin, right? How many chocolate folk were in that concert? Me and you.
That's it, two of us.
That was about it. But the Vanilla brothers and sisters, they were taking it in. Now, gospel never really crossed over like those. It remained very much rooted in a black context, a black congregation, a black audience, a black site of applause and affirmation. And so and of course, I mean, you got hip hop, you got funk, and you got rhythm and blues, all of these great creative breakthroughs by be they geniuses. It could be a James Brown, it could be a Tupac, it could be a P.E. or whoever, Public Enemy or whoever, a KRS-One and others, a Kendrick, those who break through. And hip-hop now has crossed over and is experiencing its own challenges in terms of being commodified and flattened out. And it's hard to keep the standards high. Very difficult, but a few are. Kendrick and a few, J. Cole and others, I think, are. But most importantly, though, here is that in general, though, brother, there's been this sense that the soundtrack of black life does not have the same high quality as it did 50 years ago. And that's very real. That's part of the spiritual decay in black America. That's part of the moral cowardliness that's increasing in black America, because it becomes just a matter of money, just a matter of convenience, just a matter of comfort. And you can't have people in a blues culture of high level significance and excellence if all you about is money and comfort and convenience. BB ain't like that. No way. No way. The brother's on the road 335 days out of 365 when he was in his 70s. He wasn't doing that just for money. He loved the music. He loved the people.
Yeah. It's sobering. I just pausing there trying to find the right word. It's sobering when you consider again what Doc and I are talking about, that we got a tight grip on gospel. No question about it. But blues and jazz, I'm getting concerned, and that's why I mentioned Wynton Marsalis, because you talk to Wynton, if he's being honest with you, and he's an honest brother, he will tell you that it troubles him that all the years he's dedicated himself to being the best ambassador we have for jazz right about now. He loves playing in front of live audiences, but he looks out there and it hurts his heart when he doesn't see us there. and he teaches these classes to young students, and most of the kids in the class don't look like us. So it's a challenge, man. It's a deep challenge, and so that's why we celebrate it.
We got our dear brother from Mississippi, though. What's our 24-year-old genius? What's his name?
Kingfish.
Kingfish.
Oh, boy, that boy can play, man. Yeah, he's
holding up the bloodstained banner the way D'Angelo held up the bloodstained banner in rhythm and blues, man.
No question. He can still do it. He can do it now. There are always a few out there, but by and large,
that's right. There's a cloud of witnesses.
There's always a cloud of witnesses. No question about it. Let me pivot here now. I'm thinking of this classic speech you gave. I was thinking the other night, as a matter of fact, of what a book would look like of just the classic speeches of Cornel West. We have the Cornel West Reader, which is some amalgam of much of your work. But I was thinking the other night on a different issue about what this text would look like and how it would read, a book of just the classic speeches of Cornel West. One of the speeches in that book would have to be the speech you gave where you wrestled with this notion publicly. What can a blues nation learn from a blues people? What can a nation with the blues learn from a blues people? If I were curating, if I were compiling and editing a book of Doc's best speeches, that's one of them. What can a blues nation learn from a blues people? I use that as a pivot in these last 3 minutes to ask you, with regard to Project 2029, the chair of Project 2029 made a rare appearance on this program yesterday to give us a preview of what they're working on. This is supposed to be the response to Project 2025. Whether or not it measures up, whether it meets the moment, who knows? Whether it's just Democratic talking points, who knows? But broadly speaking, what ought a document called Project 2029 look and feel like, Doc? What ought it express in a moment like this?
Well, you think, brother, that Project 2029 is like Tiny Tim in relation to B.B. King. Tiny Tim got a little ukulele with a few strings that he's hitting on because it's all appearance, it's all optics. You just enumerate items, you make references to certain kind of issues that are not necessarily connected. There's no vision, there's no connection of vision to analysis, there's no grounding of vision and analysis in your history, in your tradition of truth-telling and justice-seeking. It's just a market strategy in order to speak to various constituencies because you got all of these consultants. It's money-driven. It's market-driven. Now, you know, Tiny Tim knew he was a brand. B.B. King ain't no brand. That brother comes out of a cause of a great people. And so the equivalent would be, you know, to 2029 to Martin King, 2029 to Malcolm. They ain't no brands. They causes. They truth-tellers. They justice-seekers. They give their all. They empty themselves. 2029 needs to go back to the drawing table and try to ground itself in vision and analysis and history and truth-telling, and not just this marketing and branding driven by these consultants and politics. But, of course, they tied to big money, so it becomes difficult to tell the truth when you got a noose around your neck. Let's just be honest about it.
Yeah. No, that's the challenge. And, again, so much being written about and said about with regard to Project 2029 and what it is going to be. There has to be some response to this grim moment that we find ourselves in. But I'm with Doc, not holding my breath that this document that everybody's putting so much hope into is going to meet the moment. We shall see. For now, I thank, as always, Dr. Cornel West for being on this program every Monday, Thursday, top of the second hour. It's always Smiley and West, and how honored am I to be in collaboration with him. Love you, Doc. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Love you, love you, love you. Stay strong, my brother.
In a world full of noise, one voice cuts through. Tavis Smiley has never backed down from the hard questions, never shied away from speaking truth to power and to the powerless, and he's not about to start now. This is the show people talk about, the one your coworkers quote, the one that gets under your skin in the best way. Tavis Smiley, nationally syndicated, unapologetically progressive, unapologetically real.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Protesters are demanding answers after multiple deaths at a Michigan women's prison. Workers Against Depression activist Zane Parker.
Every single case is a case of medical neglect. It stems from the guards in the facility all the way to the front desk, all the way to the director.
Advocates and families rallied outside the Huron Valley Correctional Facility following the third inmate death in a month alleging medical neglect. Lawyers for Carmelo Anthony are appealing his murder conviction after he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Anthony was found guilty in the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet, and authorities say he's currently being held in isolation. And Alabama officials say they still plan to move forward with the execution of black inmate Jeffrey Lee. Despite a legal challenge, the state is appealing a federal ruling that blocks the use of nitrogen gas and says the execution could proceed using another method if necessary. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Wild Rivers is now open daily with over 25 slides and attractions for thrill seekers and lazy river chillers. Visit wildrivers.com for great values on season passes and daily tickets. That's wildrivers.com. Wild Rivers, where there's sun and fun for everyone.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A 29-point comeback Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden put the New York Knicks in the NBA record book. The comeback also put the Knicks one win away from their first NBA championship since 1973. A dramatic tip-in by OG Anunoby with 1.2 seconds left in the fourth quarter gave the Knicks a 107-106 victory over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Anunoby is the new hero in New York City with a game-high 33 points. The Knicks have a 3-1 lead in the best-of-7. They can win the title with a victory in Game 5 Saturday in San Antonio. The Knicks were down by 27 at halftime and by 29 early in the third quarter. Erasing a 29-point deficit is the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. The previous record was a 24-point comeback by the Boston Celtics when they battled back against the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
We love America in spite of, not because of. And that's the deepest kind of love. This is KBLA Talk 1580. 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. We continue our look at what is happening and what is not happening along the Destination Crenshaw corridor. Last time we talked about the promises made to this community. Today we talk about the reality on the ground, and it is not pretty. Let's start with something as basic as a visit to the vet. Customers of the local veterinary clinic right next door to this studio are forced to park blocks away and carry their sick and injured animals through conditions that no pet owner or sick animal should have to endure. Why? Because the construction has blocked access to the vet's parking lot for years now. The vet is losing clients, the vet is losing revenue, and frankly, who can blame these customers for not coming back? This is but one example of a small black-owned business being quietly strangled, and nobody at City Hall seems to notice or care. And the conditions along this corridor, they are not just an eyesore, they are a health hazard. Unsanitary conditions and repeated health code violations are doing exactly what you would expect, inviting vermin into our neighborhood. Rodents, pest, the kind of infestation that does not stay in one place. It spreads into homes, into restaurants, into our daily lives for years now. Then there is this. The houseless are finding refuge in the construction cubbyholes and unfinished spaces left wide open along this project. These are precious human beings, to be sure, in desperate situations. But this is also a safety and liability crisis that the city created and has yet to address for years now. In our prior editorial, trying to save some space for grace, we did not call his name. But after a full week of running the editorial hourly, highlighting the myriad delays, business losses, health violations, safety concerns, and more, we have heard absolutely nothing from City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson. Nothing. Not a word. The council member who represents this district has gone silent. You see why we call this project procrastination, Crenshaw? And so I repeat, Crenshaw deserves better. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
It's the best of B.B. King, all 3 hours of our program today. June is Black Music Month, and you know how we do it. We choose a different artist of the day, and we call it our artist in residence, and we play some of the best of their catalog all 3 hours of our show. We've done Faith Evans yesterday. It was her birthday. We did Peebo Bryson, sadly, the day after he passed away last week at age 75. We've done Curtis Mayfield. We've done Gladys Knight. We've done Sarah Vaughan. Hitting all the genres. We ain't got to hip-hop yet. We ain't got to gospel yet. We ain't got to reggae yet. We got the rest of the month. Every day, you can trust and believe a different artist, different genre, and we'll be playing the best of their catalog all 3 hours of our show, weaving in and out of these great conversations with people like Dr. Cornel West, who I thank every Monday and Thursday for being on this program. So we just had a great conversation with Dr. West about the blues. And we go from Dr. Cornel West to our friend and brother Mikaal Steele, former chair of the Republican National Committee, and now co-host of the Weeknight on MS Now. Wanted to get him on to get his take on a few things. Mikaal Steele, good to hear your voice. It's been too long, my friend. How are you, sir?
I'm good, brother. Good to hear yours as well. I hope you and the family are good.
Everybody's good, man. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. So I'm just glad.
Amen.
Just glad to be in dialogue with you once again. Let me start with a couple of broad questions, and
Sure.
we'll let it do what it do. Broadly speaking, how are you reading this primary season? And again, I'm giving you all the canvas you need to paint. We can unpack
Sure.
that 18 different ways from Sunday. But broadly speaking, how are you reading in this tete-a-tete between Republicans and Democrats that we're going to see play
Sure.
out in the midterms? Broadly speaking, how are you seeing this primary season?
So it's interesting. For Republicans, if I'm a Republican Party chairman in any county or state across the country, I'm worried.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried because the down ballot pressure on the races that I've got to run is immense.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm in a blood red district where, it's an R plus 40,
Mm-hmm.
Anything R plus 20 or less is going to be highly competitive in this cycle. So that's going to be a problem because the organization and infrastructure, from what I've been able to gather, is just not there to sustain the kind of races that are going to need to be run in order to win and hold the Congress. What people really, I think, don't understand or forget about American politics. It is not a top-down system. It is a bottom-up system. You don't win elections by winning the governorship. You win the governorship by winning the county executive race or the state legislative races, because people tend, even though the names are listed in order from top to bottom, people tend, when they go into that voting booth, to be driven by things that are really, really close to home, local issues. And in this environment, local issues are going to kill Republicans, because those local issues are financial issues. Those are bread and butter issues. You know, the guy who's got to, fill up his Ford truck to get to work finds that much more difficult to do when he has to do it twice or more a week. The mom who's trying to get kids to school before she heads to her job finds that more difficult to do, because in the planning of the household for that day, those expenses have gone up, and of course the gas to get to work. So all of these pressures are there for Republicans they're going to have to confront. For Democrats, what I think people have to note real quickly going into this, the precursor to the upcoming November elections were all the special elections that took place between November of 2024 and probably early this year, January. And the reality of it is, of those races, Republicans have only won one. And there have been close to 38. So Democrats have won 37 plus special elections. And not only have they won them, Tavis, they have won them by significant margins. They've overperformed in races in that normally would see maybe a 15% turnout of the base. They're seeing a 25 to 30% turnout of the base. So if that trend line continues, it's going to be a long, long road for Republicans to hoe. Democrats are sitting well. A year ago on my show, I announced the Republicans could very well lose the Senate. And I set out why I thought they could. Primarily, I know my peeps. They're going to double down on stupid, meaning they're going to let Donald Trump drive their midterm elections instead of the candidates and the state parties drive those elections. And now they've got all this baggage that they've got to carry, not just from the stupid presidential appointments like Pulte and others, but the ballroom, the arch, the reflecting pool, the war. We're in the war is draining bank accounts as well. So all of these things are going to be very difficult for Republicans. Democrats can drive the message on those, because every day Donald Trump gives them a new ad that they can write. He gave them one yesterday when he said, I love inflation. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Really appreciate that.
I hear your point about the down ballot pressure that the GOP is feeling and will feel more intensely as we get closer to November. And yet, my read, certainly over the last couple of decades, is that Republicans are, in fact, better organized, do, in fact, have better infrastructure. So I'm trying to juxtapose this notion of the down ballot pressure they're feeling. Yeah, I get that. And Trump can drag you down for all the reasons you just stated. You got to run against this guy. He ain't the most popular right now. So I get that part. And yet I still believe, with all due respect to Democrats, that Republicans just have better organization and better infrastructure. I mean, if anybody can withstand it, the GOP can do it better than the Democrats being dragged by an unpopular president.
But that's not borne out by what I just told you. Okay. It's not borne out by the fact that they've won 37 special elections.
Right.
I mean, and they've taken seats from Republicans. I mean, so it's not like it's an outlier here. You made a reference to, Republican organization over decades. True. I know it well. Yeah. I helped put a lot of it in place because that was important to me when I was national chairman, to make sure we had our ish organized on the ground, because there was no way I was going to win a seat for Tim Scott in the United States Congress unless South Carolina was organized. There was no way Nikki Haley was going to become the governor of South Carolina unless South Carolina was organized. So that's very true, what you're saying. But that was then. Donald Trump has not invested anything in the organization of the Republican Party, because Donald Trump is not a Republican. I keep telling people this. They don't believe me. But he isn't. Never has been. He's an opportunist who saw a weakness, took advantage of it, and continues to do so because they let him. And the reality of it is that has played out in how the RNC functions and how state parties function. when the dollars come in, which are already tight, they go into a bank account that Trump and his allies control inside the organization. Donald Trump is sitting at almost $500 million. Do you think Donald Trump is going to spend any of that money to help Hinton win the race in California? No, it's not gonna put money into that race. It's not going to come out of his bank account. But the California Republican Party has to be organized enough to get Hinton over the finish line, which is going to be very difficult to do. So I take your point, and I agree with it. In the past, that was the case.
I got you.
But I don't know so much today, given how the Democrats have effectively out-organized Republicans to win those special elections, which is, again, some of the ground gaming you're already doing early because it's a special election.
Yeah.
So it's not a one-off. You just don't do it for that one election.
Yep. Nope, I receive it. Michael Steele is, I guess, the historic former chair of the RNC, now co-host of the Weeknight on MS Now. More questions for him when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Every day, somebody somewhere is trying to silence the truth. Not on this show. For over 3 decades now, Tavis Smiley has been bringing you the conversations that matter, the voices that challenge, the ideas that move us forward. From the halls of power to the heart of the community, Tavis covers it all. Real talk in real time. This is Tavis Smiley.
Let's celebrate. Y'all did it! Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA! Yeah, man!
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
The former RNC chair, Mikaal Steele, and the co-host of the Weeknight on MS Now, and I were just having a conversation about then versus now as it relates to GOP organization and infrastructure in these down ballot races. Speaking of then versus now, let me quote from E.J. Dionne Jr., opinion writer for the New York Times, with a provocative piece he wrote this week. Headline, Republicans thought they owned values, not anymore. Let me read very quickly. The values voter became a hot political commodity some 2 decades ago. The assumption took hold that Americans who cared about values were conservatives animated by opposition to things like abortion and same-sex marriage. The 2026 campaign is reminding us that this narrow view of how voters think about values is out of step with a long American tradition that gave rise to moral appeals for improving society as a whole, particularly at times of great economic and technological change. Dionne argues that we are witnessing the return of a politics of morality organized around the injustices of the economic system and an array of related problems. These themes are powerful in the campaigns of Democrats this year across the party's philosophical spectrum, and it's about time, close quote. Is E.J. Dionne Jr. right that values voter no longer means just GOP voters?
I guess. Dude, the values question for me is a real personal question.
Mm-hmm.
I took that, and maybe it's my years in an Augustinian seminary that framed and formed my thinking around public service and what it meant and what it means. But I really question where Americans are on the value question. We can have the political discussion whether that's something that shifted to Democrats. I guess it has. But they just nominated Mr. Plattner in Maine. And I remember the Democratic Party that drove Al Franken out of the party for making a joke. With a female, companion on a plane, which didn't involve 1/10 of what Mr. Plattner is alleged to have done, and they just nominated him for the United States Senate. So, the value question may be around things that are economic, and we may want to talk about the impact that billionaires and their priorities are having on the poor and theirs, but there's more to a value question than the economics. The value question begins with, who the hell are you? What is your moral core and your moral center? What are the guideposts? We used to be generations of Americans who were always concerned about how we raise our children and the role models that we would have in front of them. I remember a time my mama wouldn't let me go to certain people's houses because she thought that just was not a good place for me to be for moral reasons. Right? And they were good neighbors. They mowed their lawns. They said hello. They were very kind and generous. But there were other things about them that my mom, that I didn't know as a young kid, but my mom saw and understood as an adult. Right? About how they lived their lives. The men going in and out of the house at all hours of the day and night, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So these things still matter, I thought. So, Tavis, I'm a little bit confused on the value question right now.
Let me help you on that. I'm a little confused myself. We talked about Plattner on this program yesterday. And, if I had time, I'd go into it. I don't. But I expressed my own views about this. I'm concerned about Mr. Plattner as the nominee. When we come forward, though, I want to just read a quick piece. I just read a piece from E.J. Dionne's opinion piece in the New York Times. But to the issue that Michael Steele is raising now, I want to read a short paragraph from an article in Politico, and the headline is "Why Progressives Are Refusing to Drop Graham Plattner." That when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Who's sitting across from Tavis this week? Leaders, legends, game changers. The people shaping the country and the culture. They come to Tavis Smiley because this is where the real conversations happen. No spin, no fluff, just straight talk and straight answers. Tavis Smiley, because the kinky question, where do we go from here, starts right here.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I got a tight 3 minutes here, but not unlike Mikaal Steele, I am also conflicted and confused about the values question these days. Let me quote very quickly from an article in Politico. Headline, read it for yourself. Headline, why progressives are refusing to drop Graham Plattner. Progressive Democrats are tired of the safe candidates. They're ready to gamble on Graham Plattner, flaws and all. Tuesday's Maine Democratic Senate primary has emerged as an ideological proxy battle over the Democratic Party's future, with Plattner's string of escalating controversies at the center. Some Democrats are fearful he has become far too risky for a must-win Senate race, but many on the insurgent left are tired of being asked to fall in line behind candidates who ultimately disappoint them, and they're ready to keep backing the progressive oyster man, even if it risks costing Democrats the race in November. I asked Mikaal Steele, how dangerous a decision might this turn out to be?
Well, I don't know about the level of danger involved there for Democrats, but I can tell you what you're going to see. You're going to see Republicans, and they've already begun to do it. You saw Donald Trump go on his social media platform and castigate Plattner because of the alleged incidences in his life regarding women, etc., as if Donald Trump his hands are clean.
That part.
and they're going to act like that. The hypocrisy is going to be so much that you will vomit from it. It is going to be so outrageous that they're going to come after. But that's the reality that the Democrats, I hope, are prepared for. And Plattner seems to have an answer for, at least at the beginning of this, for it. He's not been in a campaign before. He's never been up against a Republican machine that's hell-bent on keeping a seat.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. The Democrats apparently did no Oppo research on him, and if they did, they damn sure didn't use it.
Yeah.
To the point that it ran the governor out of the race. Trust me, that will not be a shortcoming for Republicans.
Yeah.
And so that's the reality that they're going to have to face. And the danger is not whether or not Plattner wins or loses. It is the cost that we have to pay regardless, either way.
I'm with you on that. And speaking of GOP hypocrisy, to Mikaal Steele's point, they will lean heavily in on the controversies around the women. What they're not going to say anything about, which again shows their hypocrisy, they're not going to say anything about his racist comments in the past. They'll say nothing about the xenophobia. They'll say nothing about the Nazi tattoo, because Pete Hegseth has one as well. So just pay attention. When they start leaning in against him, it's going to be just on the woman question. Nothing about race, nothing about xenophobia, nothing about that tat. I'll leave it there. I got a smart audience. They understand exactly what I'm saying. Mikaal Steele, always appreciate your insight, sir. Thanks for your time today. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
You got it, bro.
Thank you, man. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Protesters are demanding answers after multiple deaths at a Michigan women's prison. Workers Against Depression activist Zane Parker.
Every single case is a case of medical neglect. It stems from the guards in the facility all the way to the front desk, all the way to the director.
Advocates and families rallied outside the Huron Valley Correctional Facility following the third inmate death in a month alleging medical neglect. Lawyers for Carmelo Anthony are appealing his murder conviction after he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Anthony was found guilty in the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet, and authorities say he's currently being held in isolation. And Alabama officials say they still plan to move forward with the execution of black inmate Jeffrey Lee. Despite a legal challenge, the state is appealing a federal ruling that blocks the use of nitrogen gas and says the execution could proceed using another method if necessary. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Wild Rivers is now open daily with over 25 slides and attractions for thrill seekers and lazy river chillers. Visit wildrivers.com for great values on season passes and daily tickets. That's wildrivers.com. Wild Rivers, where there's sun and fun for everyone.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A 29-point comeback Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden put the New York Knicks in the NBA record book. The comeback also put the Knicks one win away from their first NBA championship since 1973. A dramatic tip-in by OG Anunoby with 1.2 seconds left in the fourth quarter gave the Knicks a 107-106 victory over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Anunoby is the new hero in New York City with a game-high 33 points. The Knicks have a 3-1 lead in the best-of-7. They can win the title with a victory in Game 5 Saturday in San Antonio. The Knicks were down by 27 at halftime and by 29 early in the third quarter. Erasing a 29-point deficit is the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. The previous record was a 24-point comeback by the Boston Celtics when they battled back against the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns, while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eaton fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
someday.
It's the best of B.B. King, all 3 hours of this program today. June is Black Music Month. As you know, we choose a different artist of the day. We call it our artist in residence. We play the best, some of the best of their catalog, weaving in and out of these conversations with great guests. All 3 hours. And we cover all the genres in the month of June, Black Music Month. And so today it is the best of B.B. King here on Tavis Smiley. We're in the final hour of today's program and 2 conversations in this hour. Who's the backside? The backside of this hour today is Dr. Julianne Malveaux, noted economist. She'll unpack her belief that America is running on empty as the consumer price index rises, draining all of our pockets. And we'll talk economics on the back half of this hour. But we commence with 3-time Tony Award-winning producer and actor Lamar Richardson and first-time Tony Award-winning sound designer Mikaal Sulaiman, who celebrate their historic wins this week. In Lamar's case, becoming the youngest black lead producer ever for the musical Ragtime. And Mikaal celebrating his Tony for Best Sound Designer for the play Death of a Salesman. Mikaal, congratulations. Good to have you on. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, sir.
It's an honor to have you. And Lamar, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm doing well and delighted to be in conversation with the two of you. Mikaal, let me start with you. For those who do not know what a sound designer is or does, let's start there.
It's a great question. And first of all, Mr. Smiley, been a huge fan since my childhood. And just an honor to be here with you. I used to teach sound design at Yale University, believe it or not, in the MFA program. So I've kind of synthesized my description of it. And I think the most artful way to describe it is that it's the emotional architecture of a story. So you have the set design, costume design, lights, those are all very visual, but sound design is really trying to help guide the audience through the emotional architecture of a story. And then technically speaking, it's about making sure all the actors sound great, all the music sounds amazing, and that everything feels, what we use the word transparent. So you don't feel that I had about maybe 300 speakers in the space, that you don't feel those speakers. You just really feel the actors from the stage. And that comes from a lot of technology that we incorporate to make that happen.
So creatively, tell me what you did on Death of a Salesman that got you this Tony win. What were they so impressed about or by with regard to your work?
Well, I can't speak to why they were generous enough to give me this award, but I will say that most of the work that we focused on, Joe Montello, the director, and I, were mostly focused on how to make the Winter Garden, which is an enormous space, usually say for musicals. The first thing I saw there was Mamma Mia when I was doing site visits for trying to understand how to work with the space. So we were mostly focused on making that very large space feel very intimate. And so most of my work was working with my team, DJ Potts, another excellent black sound designer, and Will Pickens, who was my co-associate sound designer, to really make the space feel very invisible so that the audience could really focus directly on the stage with the actors. And that was, of course, help with Jack Knoll's lighting design, which was also a really big help with my sound design, because a lot of the weird sounds that Joe let me use for the show really were supported by sounds what felt very integral or integrated, interwoven into the overall production.
That's Mikaal Sulaiman. He, again, is the winner this year for Best Sound Designer for the play Death of a Salesman. When we come forward, we'll tap in with Lamar Richardson, talk about this Tony for Ragtime, making him the youngest African-American lead producer ever to win one of these prized possessions. You're listening to Lamar and Mikaal, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
As parents, we have a million things running through our minds. Playdates, checkups, groceries, laundry, diapers, work, carpool schedules, picture day, swim team, did we mention diapers, birthday parties, meal prep, lost permission slips, dentist appointments, and the dog that still needs to be walked. So it's easy to make a mistake. Oh, I forgot birthday candles. Sit tight, hon, I'll be right back. We say we'd never put our kids in danger by leaving them in the car alone. Oh, wait, since when are candles not on the baking aisle? But never happens. And temperatures as low as 60 degrees can be deadly for children left behind. So always bring them with you, and every time you park the car, stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive. Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Listen, when I'm talking to you, you think you ought to do, baby, anything you want to do. You gotta be crazy, baby. Just gotta be out of your mind. As long as I'm paying the bills, I'm paying the cost. Be the boss.
Anybody like him? B.B. King. That B.B. stands for Blues Boy. That's the nickname they gave him as a young kid in Memphis, Blues Boy. And we know him as B.B. King. B.B. did everything and everything well. Don't know if he did Broadway, but he was the king of the blues. And so because June is Black Music Month, we choose a different artist of the day, celebrate the best of their catalog, and today we are playing the best of B.B. King all 3 hours here on Tavis Smiley. Speaking of Broadway, honored to be joined by Mikaal Sulaiman and Lamar Richardson, two big Tony winners at the big show just a few days ago on June the 7th. Honored to have them both on this program. Lamar Richardson is a highly accomplished Tony Award-winning Broadway film, television producer, and actor. He made history as the youngest black producer to win 2 Tony Awards in a single season at age 31. And this year becomes the youngest black person ever to win a Tony Award in a major category as a lead producer for the Broadway revival of Ragtime. Before I get to the honor this year, Lamar, and congratulate you on that, how does a young black man become a producer, much less a lead producer, on Broadway productions? How does that happen?
Well, foremost, Mr. Smiley, it's an honor to meet you. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
My pleasure.
I would say, for me, I would advocate for a faith journey. You know, I'm here because of God and His grace and His mercy. And, you know, 14 years ago, I decided to become an actor. And from that moment, I kind of journeyed through this career, and I made the pivot into producing post-pandemic a couple years ago. And I just really had it on my heart after speaking to my wife, you know, Julianne Richardson. We had a production company, and she encouraged me to pivot and to really open up my scope in this industry, to be able to be a leader, to open up opportunity for others. And that was really the drive for me becoming a producer, to really tell stories and to employ people who look like me, to be able to open up the possibility for their own careers as well.
So give me the backstory. I'm going to get more granular here. How does one become a lead producer on a project, a Broadway revival like Ragtime? Give me the backstory of how that actually happens.
Yeah, so for me, this has been a 3-year journey in particular, and I've done 9 shows as a co-producer, which is the tier below. Basically, a co-producer helps to fund Broadway shows.
Okay.
So my very first show was the 2022 production of Death of a Salesman, starring Wendell Pierce, and I had to raise $250,000. So that was my first time into this field as a co-producer, and I did 8 other productions afterwards at that same level. And then after last season, I was a co-producer on Othello, Gypsy, and Smash. And then I raised my hand to a producer colleague, Tom Curtahy, and said that I was interested in being promoted to the lead producer level, and he gave me the opportunity for Ragtime. And the difference between a co-producer and a lead producer means that a lead producer is the one that's literally responsible for the production. You help to source the rights to the IP, you help to finance it, you're responsible for the design elements, and all of that. And I joined that team, and this was my first foray into this space.
So Wendell Pierce is a dear friend and brother of mine. He was on this program just yesterday. Speaking of your relationship with him, he is now in Washington, D.C., doing Othello, as you likely know, at the Shakespeare Theater there. So we talked to Wendell on this program just yesterday, so glad to hear you raise his name. Again, I'm fascinated by the details, the backstory. So to this audience, and for yours truly, when you were signed, when Wendell was playing in Death of a Salesman, to raise $250,000 for that production, which makes you a sort of co-producer, how does one do that? Like, so when you're trying to raise $250,000 for a Broadway production, give me the backstory of that. How do you do that? Who are you asking for money? Where's this stuff come from?
Yeah, so to give context here, so I went to Columbia University for undergrad.
Right.
I went to the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics for high school. You know, I'm the son of immigrants, so everything about my journey has literally been just sheer grit and hustle. So I spent about a decade being an actor and having a ton of survival jobs in the real estate space, in the finance space, in the administrative space. So those were the people that I was going to with this opportunity to say, hi, I'm trying a new venture in my career. I'm securing $25,000 units for this production. Would you be interested? You know, many people told me no. And the faithful 3 people who said yes were able to get me to that point.
I love these backstories. Mikaal, sound design, the lane that you run in, for which you won the Tony this year, again, for Death of a Salesman. When you are in a space like sound design, are there a bunch of folk who look like us? And if not, from where does the inspiration come?
To your first question, no. I've been very fortunate to be on this journey with the excellent, the brilliant Justin Ellington, who was the sound designer for Joe Turner's Come and Gone, the August Wilson masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
And, I've been fortunate that the last time I was nominated, I've been nominated twice. I was also nominated with Justin that time as well. And we've also taught together at the school I mentioned earlier. And so I've been very fortunate to have a compatriot who's around my age, around my background, and to be able to go through this process with somebody else who's, frankly, someone I look up to. But, in regards to actually having any other kind of leadership, there really isn't any. And that's why I feel really fortunate that, I am the first Black sound designer to win a Tony Award for sound design. I'm also Muslim. So my name, I think, is something that will be special for certain people who might not look like me, but see the difference, that I'm not Joe Schmo, so to speak. No disrespect to Joe Schmo. And that I am somebody who, wants to be a flag bearer, because it really wasn't a tread path before I got on this road.
I like that phrase, a flag bearer, and I love the way you described who you are, so the audience gets a better sense of who I'm talking to here. With all that description that makes you uniquely different, with your penchant, your volunteering to be a flag bearer, what makes you know, what makes you feel with all that difference, all that uniqueness, that you belong on the Great White Way?
That's a great question, because frankly, I don't know. But my father, Ben, and my mother, Madeline, just were really, really excellent in raising me and my two older brothers, Ben and Amir, to be people who just feel like we belong wherever we are, never feeling inadequate, never feeling, weak or not smart enough or not good enough. Sure, I have imposter syndrome from time to time like anybody else, but it's never because of fear of what space I'm in. It's about whether I can actually do the job or not. And I just, my brother Lamar said, I just really move with faith. There's nothing else. I didn't get this award. I didn't earn this award. You said it earlier, why did people give you this award? I don't know, man. I feel like God gave me this award, and I think God gave it to me because we do need more representation, especially in the design elements. And I was just chosen,
Let me lean into that. I was going to go there anyway. It turns out that I'm talking to two brilliant Black men, two award-winning Black men, two Tony winners, both persons of faith, and they're wearing that unapologetically, proudly. I didn't ask them; they pushed out with that, and I'm glad about that. I ain't mad at either one of them. But it turns out that one is a Christian and one is a Muslim, but both have been on faith journeys. I start with you, Mikaal. Tell me a quick bit more about your faith journey as a Muslim, trying to navigate these rare spaces.
Yeah, I was born and raised Muslim in Rochester, New York, small town called Penfield up there. And, I was one of the few Black kids in my neighborhood, me and my brothers. And we just, since that point, just kind of agreed. And my oldest brother, Ben, I was just talking to him the other day about how grateful I am that he never was somebody who was ashamed of both our Blackness or our Islam, And so he never tried to change his name, or his name is Ben. He didn't try to go by Ben or anything like that. He was just, to the earlier point, really waving the flag of like who we are. We're Black and we're Muslim, and, there's a lot to know about us, that we don't need to fit into someone else's paradigm. And so my whole life, I've always been very, clear and unapologetic. I wear my kafaya pretty much as my uniform. I know Tavis is the first time we're meeting, but I have a uniform that I wear every day, not because it's some kind of militancy or anything like that, but because I don't like to look in my closet and figure out what to wear. And so I am somebody who just feels really rooted in that. But at the same time, my mother and my father were really great about not creating any kind of judgmental space either. So most of my friends are Christian or Jewish or non-secular or frankly atheists. I'm in the arts community where a lot of people are atheists, and that's fine. People have their POVs. And I also feel like I can lock arms with folks like my brother Lamar here, where we're out here just really trying to do the good work. It's not about my religion, your religion. It's about just being good at what we do.
Mikaal, you'll appreciate this. One of my dearest friends in the world, my best friend, is Cornel West. And so speaking of uniforms, I know something about uniforms. That three-piece black suit every day. No matter where he is in the world. If he's at the beach, he got a three-piece. People ask me, what does he wear at the beach? I said, a three-piece black suit. So I know something about uniforms, and I ain't mad at the uniform. Lamar, back to you. I asked you the first question, and the first thing out of your mouth was your faith. Again, you lead with that as well. Tell me a bit more about your faith journey navigating this rare air.
Yeah, for me, I I was someone who was always in the church, you know, performing in the church, all the things, right? I was saved at 14, baptized at 15. I am someone who just knows fully that there's nothing that I could have done to deserve any of this.
Yeah.
And this is truly just because of God's grace, mercy, and hand on my life. Literally, the summer of 2014, I had a sophomore internship at MetLife, and I was going into an internship at Barclays Investment Bank. I then decided to turn down a $10,000 internship, housing stipend, and that internship to spend my summer auditioning and hustling to become an actor. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just trusted that God would meet me in that faith journey. And here we are now, 12 years later, at this historic moment.
Yeah.
So as I look back over all of it, you know, I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude, because it's nothing more than praying, trusting, not knowing, and just taking one foot in front of the other and not looking back. And here we are today.
Yep. I was in New York last week, as it turns out, and had a number of things to do. I was at the Met for a huge exhibit that's opened called Musical Bodies. I loaned the Prince guitar that he gifted to me to the Met for this exhibit, so I was there for the grand opening of that. And while I was there, I popped over to Broadway to check out my friends Don and Kara and Io and Proof. So I saw Proof last weekend when I was in New York, and I sat in the audience and just thought about the many times I've been in Broadway houses to watch different productions, and how good it felt to see a black cast on that stage. Which leads me to ask, since I mentioned the Great White Way earlier, Lamar, you first very quickly, your sense of the space that we are creating or that's being created for us, you tell me, for more black faces on the Great White Way.
Well, foremost, I want to thank you for seeing Proof. I'm a co-producer on that show. So
I thought you'd appreciate that. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Thank you. And, you know, for me, this is very important. You know, my very first show was The Black Death of a Salesman, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm very interested in taking classic text and putting it through the Black experience, through that lens, right? And ushering in new stories, new voices. You know, there's the Brendan Jacob Jenkins. There's the Jordan E. Coopers. You know, there's so many Black playwrights and new voices that need a champion like a lead producer to be the one to go forth and arbit their story to the stage. And I feel that responsibility. And even if it's not a project that's from a Black voice, I still want to staff the background with Black talent in the different departments, in the cast. You know, I think it's a very intentional work, and I take it as my mission in this space.
Yep. Mikael, I assume that what you and Lamar are doing, whether you know it or not, you may be doing it more actively, is showing others that they belong on the Great White Way. You are, the two of you, an on-ramp for others, but what are you seeing with regard to more of us in this space, Mikael?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a real watershed moment after 2020 where there were just so many productions. I was on a show, my first Broadway show called Thoughts of a Colored Man by Keenan. And, you know, shortly after that, I was able to work with Lamar. And I can only imagine that Lamar's team were allowing me to work on Death of a Salesman, because I was sound designer and working with Wendell Pierce on that Salesman as well, which is very ironic and serendipitous that I'm working on yet another one, but that's another story. Yeah. But I do feel, like you said, with Proof, with Salesman, with so many shows, Joe Turner, you know, there's both classics like August, but then there's so many great new playwrights, you know, that are able to make work. And, you know, to Lamar's mission, you know, being able to, you know, radicalize or reimagine, you know, different plays from the past with an all-Black cast, I think is going to be something that we're just going to see a lot more of, and I'm excited about it. And frankly, you know, Lamar and I are both kind of behind the scenes. Most people won't see us unless we get opportunities like this to talk about our work. But the fact that we have so many brilliant people like Kara Young and, you know, oh goodness, so many names that just flew right out of my head. But you know who they are. But Kara is a great flag bearer to speak first.
Oh, no, she's the best. I love her. A quick 20 seconds apiece. Lamar, what are you working on next, right quick?
So I'm broadening in my TV and film slate right now. I have a few TV projects starring Lorraine Toussaint, Patina Miller, Rome Flynn, and lots of others. So I'm really broadening my scope to be a 360 producer.
I love it. Mikael, what's next for you, sir?
Amazing. I got Other Desert Cities coming to Broadway in the fall, Julia Dreyfus, and that's going to the Hudson Theater, and working on some projects with my brother Mikaal Sulaiman. Just really excited about what's coming next for me.
Two brilliant brothers, both history makers at this most recent Tony Awards. Lamar Richardson won as a lead producer for the musical Ragtime, and Mikaal Sulaiman won for Best Sound Designer for the play Death of a Salesman. Honored to have had both of you on this program. What a great delight. What a great joy. Lamar, all the best to you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir. Lovely to meet you.
I look forward to it in person. Mikael, good to have you on. Same to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. It's been a huge honor to talk with you. Thank you.
You are too kind. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Protesters are demanding answers after multiple deaths at a Michigan women's prison. Workers Against Depression activist Zane Parker.
Every single case is a case of medical neglect. It stems from the guards in the facility all the way to the front desk, all the way to the director.
Advocates and families rallied outside the Huron Valley Correctional Facility following the third inmate death in a month, alleging medical neglect. Lawyers for Carmelo Anthony are appealing his murder conviction after he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Anthony was found guilty in the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet, and authorities say he's currently being held in isolation. And Alabama officials say they still plan to move forward with the execution of black inmate Jeffrey Lee. Despite a legal challenge, the state is appealing a federal ruling that blocks the use of nitrogen gas and says the execution could proceed using another method if necessary. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Wild Rivers is now open daily with over 25 slides and attractions for thrill seekers and lazy river chillers. Visit wildrivers.com for great values on season passes and daily tickets. That's wildrivers.com. Wild Rivers, where there's sun and fun for everyone.
Is this the takeover? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A 29-point comeback Wednesday night at Madison Square Garden put the New York Knicks in the NBA record book. The comeback also put the Knicks one win away from their first NBA championship since 1973. A dramatic tip-in by OG Anunoby with 1.2 seconds left in the fourth quarter gave the Knicks a 107-106 victory over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Anunoby is the new hero in New York City with a game-high 33 points. The Knicks have a 3-1 lead in the best of 7. They can win the title with a victory in Game 5 Saturday in San Antonio. The Knicks were down by 27 at halftime and by 29 early in the third quarter. Erasing a 29-point deficit is the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. The previous record was a 24-point comeback by the Boston Celtics when they battled back against the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Turn the dial to where the truth lives. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. We continue our look at what is happening and what is not happening along the Destination Crenshaw corridor. Last time we talked about the promises made to this community. Today we talk about the reality on the ground, and it is not pretty. Let's start with something as basic as a visit to the vet. Customers of the local veterinary clinic right next door to this studio are forced to park blocks away and carry their sick and injured animals through conditions that no pet owner or sick animal should have to endure. Why? Because the construction has blocked access to the vet's parking lot for years now. The vet is losing clients, the vet is losing revenue, and frankly, who can blame these customers for not coming back? This is but one example of a small black-owned business being quietly strangled
and nobody at City Hall seems to notice or care. And the conditions along this corridor, they are not just an eyesore, they are a health hazard. Unsanitary conditions and repeated health code violations are doing exactly what you would expect, inviting vermin into our neighborhood. Rodents, pests, the kind of infestation that does not stay in one place. It spreads into homes, into restaurants, into our daily lives for years now. Then there is this. The houseless are finding refuge in the construction cubbyholes and unfinished spaces left wide open along this project. These are precious human beings, to be sure, in desperate situations. But this is also a safety and liability crisis that the city created and has yet to address for years now. In our prior editorial, trying to save some space for grace, we did not call his name. But after a full week of running the editorial hourly, highlighting the myriad delays, business losses, health violations, safety concerns, and more, we have heard absolutely nothing from City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson. Nothing. Not a word. The council member who represents this district has gone silent. You see why we call this project procrastination, Crenshaw? And so I repeat, Crenshaw deserves better. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
But she cools me without words, and she comes so sweet and softly, my hummingbird. And have you heard that I thought my life had ended, but I find that it's just 'cause she gets me where I live. I'll give all I have to give. I'm talking about that humming.
It's the best of B.B. King, all 3 hours of our show today. So we got a few minutes left in this last half hour. Squeeze in 1 or 2 more tracks. We've been playing the best of B.B. King because June is Black Music Month. And you know how we do it. We choose a different artist of the day every day during the month of June, covering all the genres. And we play some of the best of their catalog. And today we've been vibing on some B.B. King all 3 hours of this program. In this last half hour, as promised, a conversation with a noted economist, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. We'll let her unpack her belief that America is running on empty, as she says, as the consumer price index rises, draining all of our pockets. Before I get to her, let me go first to this clip of Donald Trump talking about how much, only Donald Trump can say this, how much he loves the inflation. Take a listen.
I will. I will. Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning? Could that be a
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, you know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now. We took out the other night 22 ships, late at night with no lights, because they don't have any radar, because we blasted the crap out of it. We took out, that's why oil's $85 a barrel. I mean, you take a look. Remember when I did this, I said, look, the one bad thing will be, we hit the best economy we've ever hit. And I said to my people, I had Scott, I had Howard, I had Pete, I had all of them. I had Todd in the room. I said, the one thing we have to do now, we had just hit the highest stock market in history, highest 401ks in history. Everything was going well. And I said, I hate to do this to you guys, but Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon very soon. We have to go and attack. So
now, if you know Julianne Malveaux the way I do, then you know that the question I'm about to pose to her is the kind of question that would make her cuss. She knows that because we're regulated by the FCC on radio, not on the app, not on the website, but on the radio, she can't cuss, and yet I'm going to risk asking her this question anyway. Dr. Malveaux, what do you make of the president saying, I love the inflation? She's trying to answer without cussing. I knew this was going to happen. I knew I was going to jam her up this way.
That Maryland farmer has lost his mind. Truly lost his mind. And he's not paying attention to the fact that the people who vote for him are struggling. I mean, if you're making less than $100,000 a year, and average black income is 50-some, if you're making less than $100,000 a year, and even if you are, you see the prices ticking up. Used to be able to get a gas tank for one amount. Now it's almost twice that. We're talking about groceries. You talk about anything, Tavis. This is ridiculous. And it's almost like he's grinning, laughing at us. But, what somebody needs to do something about that man. His dementia is out of control. And that's what it is. This is clearly dementia. What president of any country likes inflation?
Yeah, I was about to ask. You're the economist, not me. Is there, all jokes aside, is there anything at any point to ever love or even like about inflation?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. There's no, what he said is, well, as soon as I finish this war, prices are going to go back down. Well, first of all, he does not know the Iranian people. He clearly does not know the Iranian people. So he seems to think, first of all, they're going to roll over. But, these are similar tactics as he used other places. What he's doing in Iran is like what he did in Venezuela and what he's trying to do in Cuba. I was just there with a group. In fact, your brother, Dr. Niki.
Dr. Corte. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
We come back to call him Niku because there's too many syllables.
Exactly.
But he was on our delegation.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see the devastation. But what this man is trying to do is to use economic violence against others, but he's also using it against his own citizens. And the thing that gets me is these people who continue to defend him. I don't have any talking about that man. I can waste our time. He's an idiot. We know he's an idiot. He's an idiot. But some of these people around him purport to have good sense. Where's the 25th Amendment?
Yeah. They're not. Yeah, they're not going to invoke that. It's a powerful question. It's the right question, but they are not his cabinet. They're not going to invoke the 25th Amendment. You and I both know that. Let me go back to this question. This phrase you use. It's an arresting phrase, and yet it's an appropriate phrase. When you use the term economic violence, unpack that for me right quick.
You're using the economy to inflict violence on people. And you don't have necessarily a war with people, boots on the ground in Cuba, but what you have is they can't get oil. They don't have, Tavis, while we were there, we experienced minor blackouts because we were at a nice hotel, but some people had as many as 40 hours in a row without energy, without light. How do you organize your life like that? That's violence.
Oh, yeah.
That's inflicting violence, and it has economic roots.
Yeah. Dr. Malveaux is referencing my White House correspondent and colleague at my home station here in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580, Dr. Mikaal Corte. That is a lot of syllables, so people just call him Nee, or they call him Dr. Q. Dr. Q is easier for most people. But he was on that delegation with Dr. Malveaux, and he did, in fact, as you recall, call in every day from Cuba to give us an update. So in real time, Dr. Malveaux, he was calling into this program, giving us a sense of what you all were experiencing during that Cuba trip. I couldn't make the trip, but I sent him, and I'm glad I did because, again, he gave us some firsthand reporting on what was happening and what you all were experiencing, witnessing there in Cuba. I've been there a couple of times, but not in the past few years. So I hated that I couldn't make the trip, but I wanted to make sure we sent somebody there to report back to us about what you were experiencing, again, as part of this delegation. So that's what Dr. Malveaux was referencing. And I'm grateful to her because I asked her that question about Trump saying, I love the inflation, no one is going to make her cuss. And she gave me Maryland Farmer. That Maryland Farmer, I'll take that any day. I'll take the Maryland Farmer reference any day. It was cute. I can live with it. More with Dr. Malveaux when we come forward here on Tavis Smiling.
In her special way, and I just have to say, in my life, I love no other, because she's more.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other. Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiling, Dr. Julianne Malveaux, noted economist, president emerita of Bennett College for Women, a brilliant writer. Malveaux, how's the Malveaux? It's not the Malveaux letter. What do you call it? The Malveaux.
Malveaux Monitor.
The Malveaux Monitor. Yeah, how's that coming along?
It's coming along. I need your help, and I'll be calling you asking for some.
Oh no, I do
but
that.
It is coming along. So, folks, if you want to hear it, read it. Malveaux newsletter at gmail.com. Malveaux newsletter at gmail.com.
Malveaux newsletter at gmail.com. She writes a wonderful newsletter called the Malveaux Monitor, and I read it regularly. And she just started it not too long ago, and want to make sure you get tapped into that. There are so few. Malveaux is top of the hill and has been for a long time. But I've said many times on this program, there is no issue on which if you search long enough and hard enough, you can't find a black expert. It is the case, though, that when it comes to economics, it's not a long list of black experts who are good enough, who can make this stuff make sense to everyday people. Malveaux is one of the best at it. and has been doing it for a long time. And so I deeply appreciate her years of love and service to our community, helping us understand these sometimes intricate economic issues. And so now she has a Malveaux Monitor, and you should read it because she explains these difficult and challenging numbers issues to everyday people like yourself in ways that we can understand it. I say all the time, it's one thing to have an intellect, but if it ain't a usable intellect, we got a problem. If can't nobody understand you but other economists, you got a problem. So Dr. Malveaux makes us understand it. Yeah, she makes us understand it, and I appreciate that. Let me ask you right quick, my time's getting tight. I saw the piece you wrote called Running on Empty. For those who haven't read that piece, unpack it for me.
People are tired. People are tired. I wrote it last month, actually, Tavis, and today, everything I wrote has been confirmed. Mm-hmm. The inflation is now up 4.3%, the highest increase in 3 years. And of course, that person says he doesn't care. He likes inflation, but nobody else does. You know, the brother trying to fill up his tank used to be able to do it with a 50. Now he's got to put up some more, another 10 or 12 or 20 to fill that tank up. The sister going to the grocery store. That's what two little pieces of information from this most recent report is that grocery prices are not rising as quickly as they might. So this is a cap, but it's not. But they're still rising. So this Department of Labor, these folks have figured out a way to parse everything. So it's not as bad as it could be. It's kind of like they're lying. But it's not only the prices, Tavis. You talk to people as much as I do, probably more actually. When you talk to people, they talk about they're tired. I was with a brother this morning. We were I got a Presley had a presser to talk about, reparations and some things related to that. And the brother was kind enough, because I hobble around in a cane, to pick me up, and we went up together. And I said, "How you doing, boo?" Girl, I can't tell you how tired I am. This is a 36-year-old man. I can't tell you how tired I am. But I don't care if you're talking to someone 36 or 66. People have a sense of tired. And what they're also tired of is the hijinks. Every time you turn around, it's like you have whiplash.
Yeah.
First, he was going to put this fool, who's basically a banking guy, he was going to put him in intelligence. By law.
That's the Pulte guy.
Yeah. By law, you have to have some intelligence experience. So then even his own staff started pushing back on that. So now he has someone else who seems to be a little more reasonable. But these headlines come out. Everybody gets whiplash. I don't know how many times a day I say, "What?" Yeah. And then something happens. So people are just tired of it. They're tired of the BS, but they're also tired of the shenanigans.
When we come forward, our remaining moments, Dr. Malveaux, I want to close by asking her what she's keeping her eye on. Put another way, what we then ought to be paying attention to with regard to the economy between now and November that might impact the outcome of this election. Since we tend to vote pocketbook issues, never mind the fact that in so many ways we discussed with Mikaal Steele earlier on this program, even he acknowledged that Democrats have been running the table on all these special elections. We've won, 37 out of 38 Democrats have of these special elections, and in the other primaries, Democrats have done rather well. So everybody's assuming and hoping and hopefully not, as I said before, being irrationally exuberant about what Democrats are going to pull off in November. The economy is always a telltale sign. So what is she paying attention to? What then ought we be watching with regard to the economy that might make a difference on Election Day come November? That's the exit question for Dr. Malveaux when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and noted economist Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Doc, got 2 minutes left. So what are you watching? What are you paying attention to? What ought we be tapped into with regard to the economy, giving you all the canvas you need to paint, that might impact what happens when we go to the polls in November?
Okay, Tavis, that's a good one. Housing. I'm paying attention to housing. Mortgage rates are now up. You get a mortgage for about 6%. Mm-hmm. That's higher than it used to be. And so I'm looking at, there's two ways to look at this. Get on my trusty computer and go check it out, but also walk around my for sale signs are staying up. And because if housing doesn't move, a lot of stuff doesn't move. So people are living in their mama's basement because they can't find an apartment. They can find one, but they can't afford it. So I'm looking at housing, which is a really good indicator and also an indicator of consumer satisfaction. Also always looking at prices and all of that. But another piece of data that we need to pay attention to is household debt. Mm-hmm. Americans are carrying about $18 trillion in household debt. That's for rent, the mortgages, credit cards, car notes, student loans, all that. But it's debt. It has to be repaid. And debt, if people don't repay it, well, many won't, and that's going to cause a financial problem. But the other problem is if they do pay it back, it's crowding out the other spending that we like to see. Yeah. Because the spending is what makes the economy grow. And we'll be looking at spending to see if people are spending. We already know that people are spending less than they could.
Right.
Many are saving, and good for them, but many others are just, they're not spending. They don't have anything to spend. Yeah. So look at all these numbers, but also looking at the rhetoric that's coming from both parties. Yeah. And who is consumer and people-focused and who is rhetoric-focused.
There's your answer. Pay attention to the rhetoric. Pay attention to the housing market, the pricing, and household debt. Put another way, spending. There is no spending. The economy doesn't move. That's what she's watching, and we'll be watching it with her and tapping in with her between now and November to see what the numbers look like in these areas. For now, we thank economist, President Emerita at Bennett College for Women, founder of the Malveaux Monitor, Dr. Julianne Malveaux, for her insights as always. Thanks, Doc. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Thanks a lot.
Good to have you on the program. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Tomorrow is Friday, so tomorrow is the best of Tavis Smiley on these stations across the country. Thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Protesters are demanding answers after multiple deaths at a Michigan women's prison. Workers Against Depression activist Zane Parker.
Every single case is a case of medical neglect. It stems from the guards in the facility all the way to the front desk, all the way to the director.
Advocates and families rallied outside the Huron Valley Correctional Facility following the third inmate death in a month, alleging medical neglect. Lawyers for Carmelo Anthony are appealing his murder conviction after he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Anthony was found guilty in the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet, and authorities say he's currently being held in isolation. And Alabama officials say they still plan to move forward with the execution of black inmate Jeffrey Lee, despite a legal challenge. The state is appealing a federal ruling that blocks the use of nitrogen gas and says the execution could proceed using another method if necessary. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Wild Rivers is now open daily with over 25 slides and attractions for thrill seekers and lazy river chillers. Visit Wild Rivers.